Their journey began in Yasharel. But they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.
Oh, it looks like we're live. and I thought I had the button, so because Carrie is here with me, so I'm adding her to the screen.
Hey,
Wow.
my goodness.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to CC Talks. It is an interesting start to the morning. We are having internet interference. So pray for us if you're watching us live. If you watch us later, we hope that it doesn't come across too choppy, because we've got some cool stuff to share, don't we, Carrie?
Yeah, we really do. I'm really excited about this. And I just little to tell everybody, we were having about a 15-second delay between for me what Chelle was saying and what I was hearing. So if that starts to occur again, just be patient with us. And I wanted to tell you, Chelle, that I'm going to be not interrupting because there is such a delay. It's going to be, I'll end up coming across like I'm speaking over you. So maybe I'll raise my hand or something, wave or something, that if I've got something I want to say, but I just want to let you know I'm going to try to be silent so I don't disrupt anything. So, and also there's going to be such a delay in my response. You'll be in another thought. So anyways, I just wanted to say that to you and to anyone listening, is that I'm going to be not interrupting. So as much as possible.
I agree, Carrie. We're going to do our best to make this work together from North Carolina to Texas here.
Yes.
All right. Okay, well, I wanted to go ahead and start. We've got an interesting topic today, the topic of sound, the topic of the ear, the topic of how Venom, can mess with that. So what we thought, we're kind of developing a new CC Talks pattern to where we say what we feel like we can say on YouTube, and then we stop, and then we start recording, and we go ahead and add that to Brighteon. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to start us off, and then we will be moving over to Brighteon for the rest of the presentation so that we can say whatever we want to say.
Yay.
That's right. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. Our topic, we're talking about the Shema. And Carrie had asked me if I had any word pictures on that. So I did develop some word pictures and have a little bit of a presentation here that I wanted to share with you. So we're going to start with the word Shema, right? And so you can see I've got it listed in the modern. We've got a shin, a mem, and an ayin, right? And then I have it listed out in the pictograph. So I gave us a word picture definition here. The word picture definition means to hear and obey is to destroy the chaos of Egypt or ancient paganism. See it here with the shin, you've got destroy. We've got the mem, which is chaos. And then you've got that all-seeing eye, to see. But it's really prolific in ancient paganism, Egyptian symbolism. We've all seen it, even on our dollar bill, right? So it's a familiar word picture for that, and we're familiar with that. So what I found interesting is when we're looking at at Deuteronomy 6, 1 through 3, but the traditional Shema always begins with Deuteronomy 6, 4. But I wanted to look at what was telling us, what we were being told outside of tradition of Judaism, what we were actually being told in the scriptures beforehand. So I found this very interesting. So I'm starting in Deuteronomy 6, 1. It says, now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahweh Elohim commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land whither you go in to possess it, that you might fear Yahweh Elohim, to guard all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you and your son and your son's son, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear, therefore, so here's Shema, right? Hear, therefore, O Yasharel, and guard to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahweh Elohai of your fathers has promised you, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Okay, so they're told not only to hear and obey, but also to guard. So that's a very similar word to Shema. So they're told to Shema Shamar, Shema Shamar, right? So what is Shamar? Shamar is to guard, means to strain out the gnats. Now, I took this definition from Brown Driver Briggs. To guard means to strain out the gnats in the wine, to hedge about with thorns and fennel. I found that extremely interesting. I knew you would like this, Carrie. So I'm going to remove this just for 1 second, because then I want to share just a little bit with my friend, the master herbalist, about fennel and hear your remarks on this. So I'll share, and then I want you to tell us what you know about this. So I got out my herb book. This is just one herbal medicine, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked up fennel. Now, what I wanted to do was go to the history and folklore portion of this. Some ancient authors considered fennel a remedy for snake bite. A remedy for snake bite.
What?
I love it.
What?
Yeah. Yep. In the early Middle Ages, the plant was considered to be an antidote to witchcraft.
Wow.
Amazing, isn't it? That was the only part I really wanted to share about it. Yeah, because it just blew me away. Now, I know that I had invested in fennel seeds early in 2020 when I was listening to Mike Adams talk about it having the same basic chemical components as Tamiflu. And so I found that very interesting. So I started making fennel seed tea, or just chewing on fennel seeds. But I had no idea that it was an anti-venom.
I didn't either.
So I found that just super interesting. Yeah. What do you think about that with fennel, Carrie?
So I literally feel like I'm like falling out of my chair. Like it's like I have 1,000 things to say and I'm trying to order them in the right order. So, okay. So when you were talking about the shamar, the first thing that came to my mind where, it's to guard. I know that we are supposed to, kind of like put a hedge of protection around, the Torah, that's what, Judah, I think, you can correct me on this one because, you understand the tribes better than I do. You've studied that more. But they were supposed to guard the Torah. And so Shamar is not Shema, but Shamar is supposed to strain out the gnats in the wine. And so when we look at ourselves, are we not supposed to be the wine? You know, like, and we're supposed to be
Right.
part of the vineyard, and so uh, if there's gnats in the wine, then that means that there's an impurity. So there's something being purged from us. And then when you tie in the fennel, that is a anti-snake venom. And what this has to do with what I'm going to be talking about is just, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but just stay tuned for the
Okey-dokey.
science part of this, because what she's saying is literally tying into the science part, and we had no idea that we were tying into each other. We're like, hey, you want to do this? Yeah, let's do this, So we are going to have fennel purging out, an anti-flu that is for those who think that maybe the thing that shall not be named. See, I'm learning how to talk on YouTube. The thing that shall not be named here, that it is a some people think that it's a flu, and it was way more intense for
Right.
me than it was for a lot of other people. And then Dr. Artis's work, which we've been talking about, and how it has to do with the Venom, so the fact that you could tie all this into Shema, hear and obey. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much. Keep going. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Okay, I will. So my friend Bethany has joined us, and I just wanted to show a couple of her comments because she's always extremely insightful. So Bethany was sharing with us, and hello, Bethany. I'm so glad you're here. Shema's
Hey,
my very
Bethany.
first prayer as I wake in the morning, thanking Yah for his breath in me. Absolutely. And then this is really cool. She said, did you know for indigestion is chewing on fennel seeds? You go to any Indian restaurant, they have a small bowl on the cash counter that you can take a teaspoon and eat. Absolutely. And then I thought this is really cool too. I learned from Dr. Artis that there's nicotine in a lot of veggies we eat. Think about that. That's anti-venom. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you, Bethany. I do appreciate that. Now I'm going
Yes.
to add my screen back and go on to my next slide.
I'm taking notes. I just
So
want you to know
that's how
that.
it started out when I started studying, Carrie. Yeah. I'm sure I'm going to be taking notes when you're sharing with us too. All right. On to my next slide. Okay. So I just wanted to read this about, let me know if you can still hear me, Carrie, because it seems like my internet's just going out. There, can you still hear me?
I can
Okay.
hear you. It's
All right.
just choppy
So,
and delayed. Go ahead. I can hear you and I can see you.
okay. All right. So I wanted to look at some perfect. I wanted to look at what Deuteronomy 28 had to say about us hearing him, right? So in Deuteronomy 28, we know this is the promises of the scriptures that are about the blessings of living in obedience, living a Torah lifestyle. You know, it's very interesting, this training course I just went through with Dr. Monzo, because within the book, it's he talks about, here's the different things of laying on of hands, but the Torah, living a Torah lifestyle is very important in maintaining healing, because it's like you can lay hands on somebody and their body's going to respond to the science because we're human and we're made the same way. But if we're not willing to live in obedience, the enemy's going to come in and undo and wipe out, and you're going to be back in the same mess, that you were, when we're not willing to live in obedience to him. So I just wanted to share this out of Deuteronomy 28, starting in verse 1 and 2. It just says, and it shall come to pass, if you will hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command me this day, that Yahweh thy Elohim will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim. So what are we doing? We're listening to his voice, right? That's hearken. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is what he's telling us to do. So then in Deuteronomy 28:15, going down a bit in the chapter, it says, but it shall come to pass, if thou will not hearken, if you're not going to listen unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command me this day, that all the curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Right? So, I mean, it's just what he told us. I've set before you life and death. I would that you choose life. So we go down in Deuteronomy 32, 1-5, and it says, listen, O heavens, and I will speak. Hear, this is Shema, and he's talking to the earth. Shema, O earth, the words that I say. Let my teaching fall on you like rain. Let my speech settle like dew. Let my words fall like rain on tender grass, like gentle showers on young plants. So it's all about water, right? It's all the water settling, right? He is the rock. His deeds are perfect. Everything he does is just and fair. He is a faithful Elohim who does no wrong. How just and upright he is. But they, speaking of the people, right, his people, have acted corruptly toward him. When they act so perversely, are they really his children? They're dreadful and deceitful. They are a deceitful and twisted generation. Boy, doesn't that describe where we're at right now, yes. Right? So we know that we are mainly made up of water, and that this water holds memory. All right, so yes. Going on in Deuteronomy 32, starting in verse 18, going through 24, you neglected the rock who had fathered you. You forgot the Elohim who had given you birth. Yahweh saw this and drew back, provoked to anger by his own sons and daughters. He said, I will abandon them, then see what becomes of them, for they are a twisted generation, children without integrity. They have roused my jealousy by worshiping things that are not Elohim. They have provoked my anger with their useless idols. Now I will rouse their jealousy through people who are not even a people. I will provoke their anger through the foolish Gentiles. For my anger blazes forth like fire and burns to the depths of the grave. It devours the earth and all its crops, and it ignites the foundations of the mountains. I will heap disasters upon them and shoot them down with my arrows. I will weaken them with famine, burning fever, and deadly disease. I will send the fangs of wild beasts and poisonous snakes that glide in the dust. This is the result of disobedience. So I found this very interesting. I don't know if how much of this I've shared with you, but I am in a huge study of looking at Marvel characters and the DC comic characters and seeing what's going on with the correlation of the ancient return of the ancient fallen watchers, right? So I saw this movie that was released. It was due to release in 2020, right? but it didn't come out until 2021. And the plot is, in 1996, a young Cletus Cassidy watches helplessly as his lover, Francis Bearson, is taken away from St. Estes Home for Unwanted Children to the Ravencroft Institute for the Mentally Insane, right? On the way, Frances uses her sonic scream powers to attack the young police officer, Patrick Mulligan. Mulligan shoots Francis in the eye and suffers an injury into his ear due to her scream. Unbeknownst to Mulligan, who believes he killed her, Francis is still taken to Ravencroft, where her abilities are restricted. Very interesting, is it not?
Yes.
So it's called Venom, something of carnage. I can't even read the last little part of that, but it is this Marvel movie, right? I thought you'd find that one interesting too, Carrie.
Oh wow. It's been something I've been thinking about too.
What I saw is that, wow, yeah. You know, we're experiencing famine, flooding, wind, snow, ice, earthquakes, fire, drought, blight, crop failure, mildew, plagues, sickness, destruction of the food supply, locust, war, disease, economic collapse, and widespread death, right? And so many. It looks just like this when you're trying to talk to people. La 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 la. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm not going to listen to you. Just like little rebellious children, you know. It just bores me. I'd rather get on my social media. I'd rather take a selfie, you know. I mean, this is just the culture that we are in. It is incredible. So let me remove this. So, why do we have so much trouble listening? All right. So I wanted to share one other thing here. Let me get rid of this. This is a video. I hope it plays correctly. Let me make sure. Let me remove this. Wait a minute. Okay. And now let me present. My technology is really giving me a fit at the moment, but all right. I'm going to share this. And let me give me a thumbs up if you can hear it and see it.
It's just thinking.
It's trying. It's thinking about whether or not it would like to play for us today.
Come on.
All right.
Come on. Yay!
We'll see how this goes. It's really cool. I hope it plays. All right. So
5 to 8 hertz frequency has been determined to be nearly the precise center of the entire electromagnetic color spectrum. There's only one number in the entire numbering system whereby the electromagnetic color spectrum is the same as the
sorry. We'll let it spin. Hopefully it'll come back on. If it gives us too much trouble, we'll skip it. But it's really cool.
sound system. That one number is 5 to 8. Both the same in color and sound. 5 to 8 hertz frequency.
A miraculous key that opened doors that no man can close and close doors that no man can open. 528. It will change your life in the most beneficial way. And now we have substantive evidence, massive amounts of evidence that is what 528 is. Ultimately, what has happened with this planet is that we are in dissonance to another note, another frequency. It turned out that when we discovered the original musical scale, there was not just 6, but a total of 9 core creative frequencies to the universe. That is, everything in the universe is made from 9 notes, only 9. And that the first 6 are the solfeggio, and then there's 3 additional ones that form a perfect circle of sound. And that perfect circle of sound looks something like this. If you graph it. So the first 6 notes, 396 417 528 639 741 852, was the original solfeggio scale. The 528 that you could see on my left in green is the color green. It's the heart of the rainbow. That's the miracle note from the original solfeggio note, from the original solfeggio scale. And the other note that you see, 741, which is part of nature, is called the devil's interval in musicology. That when you play 741 with 528, it creates such an annoying and dissonant energy, diseasing, stressful, that if you continue to listen to it, you could die. And so that the concept here is interesting. In the world today, we have people who are controlling virtually everything economically, geopolitically. Their agenda has been population manipulation, population control for millennia. They have held the secret knowledge, the ancient music, by which the pyramids were constructed based on the math. All of the universe is constructed according to these 9 tones. They knew about them. In fact, they instituted. In fact, it was the Rockefeller Foundation in 1939 that instituted the world's standard tuning. The Western world tunes to a 440 hertz frequency. That when you tune your instrument to that, the F sharp note is 741. Precisely.
The A440 is what now is the standard tuning. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. To do what? To shut down the 95% of your brain, particularly the right brain that operates the heart mind, the divine human community. Here is a metaphor so that you begin to understand what we're talking about. When you go driving your car and your channel on the radio is tuned to a station and you're
Uh-oh. Is I don't know what to do. What happened? I don't know if I should end this or what. I'll just let her get back in because she'll be able to get back in. Hopefully. Oh boy. Oh. Ah.
Totally kicked me off.
Oh my goodness.
Can you believe that?
I literally was like, I don't know what to do.
Well, never fear. All right. So this is a really interesting video, and I only had a little bit more of it to play. So I'm going to try again. And
yes, please do. I was taking notes because
it's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Share my screen. Sorry for the interruption.
Makes things spicy.
Okay. I know it. So it was cutting it off like right in the middle of when it was trying to explain the practical part of this. So I'm going to try again. All right, can you hear it?
It's just thinking.
I know it's trying to add it back. It's really thinking a lot. Okay. It's thinking we don't like what they are saying.
Yes.
Here you go.
Oh, I see it.
You get a little annoyed, but you want to listen to it. You really have a heart for that music, so you continue to listen to it for another 10, 15 miles, and suddenly it becomes so annoying that you just get disgusted. You need to listen to it. You get sick. That's what we're talking about here. Except you don't even know that you've been listening to the static your whole life. You know resonant frequency is because it's been kept. So in other words, the master composer, master conductor of the Universal Orchestra is singing love songs in 528.
Okay. So I thought that was really interesting. I'm going to stop it there. It goes on for a few more minutes, and I'll go back and I'll link that video because it's really, really fascinating, I thought.
Do you think that we could maybe make available our slides into our Telegram group, or I don't know, a link to a Google Doc? I don't know, somehow, because I feel like your notes are important, and I would love to get, my notes out there. And I feel like what we're about to embark on is going to require more study, and like how I've been creating source pages where I'm citing all my references that I'm talking about in my part. I want people to be able to, if they want to, go and research it for themselves. And so I don't know if we could put it in a Telegram group, like a pinned page, or maybe even, we could start like a Telegram group that's just for the slides, where they could go in and they could just access the slides, maybe, so it's not lost.
Yeah, we'll talk about what our options are. We'll have to look at some options. I've got some ideas on that, but we'll talk about it offline and figure something out.
Okay, sounds great.
So I wanted to share just a little bit more. When I started, I got out another book, my human body book, and I was looking about, the ear, and what stuck out to me is it talks about balance, right? That's where our sense of balance comes on. And that's what it says, the sense of balance relies in part on visual information about the body's position and on sensory receptors in the skin and joints. There are also several structures in the inner ear that help to maintain balance, right? So I thought that was kind of an important clue when we're talking about the ear too. I know I'm studying a lot of different things chart wise, what different things line up in the ear, with all the things that we're learning about energetic medicine. I thought that was extremely interesting. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to share that. And when I was reflecting on this, on our topic, one of the things that really hit me was the fact of Simeon's story, right? So he's the second son of Jacob and Leah. He's the second. Reuben is the firstborn. Simeon is the secondborn. His name literally means herd, right? And it's not the Shema herd, but it's I believe it's Anah, and he was named that because Leah, feels unloved. She wasn't the chosen one. She was the bad surprise that Jacob awoke to the morning after his marriage. He was expecting Rachel and got Leah, right? And so, she has her firstborn son, and says that, now he's gonna love me, and Yah has, now she has her second one. Now Yah has heard me. He's heard the complaints. He's heard that I am the unloved wife, right? So that's his very name in Simeon. Interesting to me, his story, in that when the brothers decided to sell, they were sick of Joseph, right? So he was one of the lead ones to throw him into the pit. He literally wanted to kill him, and so a lot had to be done in his heart. There was a lot of bitterness, a lot of jealousy, and I find that so interesting, that he was this man of war, and he was supposed to have this, I would say, a gift of hearing. But what can interfere with all that, of being able to hear and walk in what we're supposed to be walking in, are these different emotions? And I found it interesting, from the science that we're looking at today, how these things can be manipulated, right? So I found one thing in Jonathan Cahn's book, The Return of the Gods, that I wanted to share with you. It's pretty quick. It's the chapter 21. It's called The Intoxicator. It says, as an enchantress, Ishtar, tempted, allured, and captivated, she caused her followers to abandon reason and rationality to do what they otherwise would never have done. She cast spells, she worked magic. Thus, her ability to seduce was all the more potent. As the goddess who dwelled in taverns, Ishtar was strongly connected to the substances of intoxication served and partaken of there. In one of her myths, she schemes to take away the powers and blueprints of civilization contained in the tablets of the god Enki. She partakes with him of alcoholic beverages until he becomes intoxicated, at which point she takes off with the tablets. So to Ishtar belong the powers of both seduction and intoxication. Thus, it is of note that at the same time that the sexual revolution was taking hold of America, a parallel movement began, an explosion in the usage of intoxicating substances. After holding steady from the end of Second World War, the rate of American alcohol consumption suddenly began rising. The escalation would continue for 2 decades and then would be followed by another escalation that would continue into the 21st century. It was another form of intoxication that so dramatically exploded in American and Western culture that it would, in part, define the 1960s, that of drugs. The phenomenon became so widespread that it gave birth to its own culture, the drug culture. Among the most celebrated of the newly embraced intoxicating substances were the psychedelic, or the mind-altering drugs that radically altered perception, thinking, and behavior. The state of intoxication and altered consciousness was now glorified as an ideal to be sought after. It was all in keeping with the goddess's nature. It was her power and her will to alter consciousness, perception, and reality. With or without intoxicating substances, she was altering the American consciousness. For the ancient Mesopotamian, the taverns were inhabited by the spirit of Ishtar. It was there that those affected by her allurements were surrounded by 3 elements: sexuality, intoxicating substances, and music, sound, right? And sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? Wasn't that the whole, right there? It all ties in together. So I had one more thing to share, and then I will be done with my part, Carrie. And this is out of a book called The Body Keeps Score. Okay. This is by Bessel van der Kolk, MD. It's Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. All right. So here they're telling a little story. It's called Communal Rhythms and Synchrony. From the moment of our birth, our relationships are embodied in responsive faces, gestures, and touch. As we saw in chapter 7, these are the foundations of attachment. Trauma results in a breakdown of attuned physical synchrony. When you enter the waiting room of a PTSD clinic, you can immediately tell the patients from the staff by their frozen faces and collapsed, but simultaneously agitated bodies. Unfortunately, many therapists ignore those physical communications and focus only on the words with which their patients communicate. The healing power of community, as expressed in music and rhythms, was brought home for me in the spring of 1997 when I was following the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. In some places we visited, terrible violence continued. One day I attended a group for rape survivors in the courtyard of a clinic in a township outside Johannesburg. We could hear the sound of bullets being fired at a distance while smoke billowed over the walls of the compound and the smell of tear gas hung in the air. Later, we heard that 40 people had been killed. Yet while the surroundings were foreign and terrifying, I recognized this group all too well. The women sat slumped over, sad and frozen, like so many rape therapy groups I'd seen in Boston. I felt a familiar sense of helplessness and surrounded by collapsed people. I felt myself mentally collapse as well. Then one of the women started to hum while gently swaying back and forth. Slowly, a rhythm emerged. Bit by bit, other women joined in. Soon the whole group was singing, moving, and getting up to dance. It was an astounding transformation. People coming back to life, faces becoming attuned, vitality returning to bodies. I made a vow to apply what I was seeing there and to study how rhythm, chanting, and movement can help to heal trauma.
Wow. Like, I mean, I've literally taken so many notes because what we're talking about is, I mean, we're like at the very, 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 very beginnings of something like very deep and heavy. And I really do believe that y'all want everyone to understand this. And so I can't wait to share what I've learned, but I'm already aware that this is part one for me, that there's going to be many parts to come because I was already on my 8th slide and I barely could get out what I was trying to express in it. And every time that I would peel back a layer, I was like, oh my goodness, there's more. And like how we started with Shema, just talking about, hear and obey. And then it went from that to the end that we're talking about healing of trauma through listening, how that is going to tie into the thing that shall not be named and the attack that has been put on us and how to help y'all as people to recover from that, because I do think that he wants us to recover from that. And so, I mean, this is so good. I would love to hear you speak more about this. I mean, like I've already gotten a full page of notes. So, yes. So, I'm so glad.
Yeah,
Bethany,
I think yes, I think Bethany's. Yes, me too, Carrie, because that's exactly what I was thinking, that's kind of our next, our next foray into this. And that's why I wanted to play that video, is understanding that there are frequencies in sound that heal, that take us back to the ancient past, that restore the waters to what they should be. In fact, when we go over to Brighteon, there's another video I want to play for you on cymatics. So we're probably going to end this one so that we can now start recording what we're going to be putting on Brighteon, so we can say whatever we want to say. So
that sounds great.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us here. And I hope that you will come over to Brighteon. I'll have it loaded up later this afternoon so that everybody can hear the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, come hear the rest of the story.
All right. So for now, that's right. For now, we're going to say shalom for this part. and we're going to go record. So,
Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Their journey began in Yasharel. But they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart